Hello everybody, this is Hal Raines. I'm the Parkinson's potter and I'm glad to be with you again. You know, if you worked with clay much, you know every project starts with centering. You know, if you're going to do any throwing at all, if you've got bubbles, it's just a matter of fussing with them until you get rid of all the bubbles. But this particular clay is a Laguna B-Mix, and it's nice to throw. It usually works pretty easily, but somehow, some way in here I do get a bubble, and you're going to see I fight with it. This little guy's nicely centered at this point. So what I'm doing is just basically opening out the center. I think that pushing it over the way I did caused it to kind of mushroom out. I believe I trapped some air in the walls when I pushed it over, and I wish I hadn't, because it certainly doesn't make life easier for you as a potter. And when you get a pull, so far, you see how I'm using my hands together there? Well, you want to do that as much as possible so you can support the walls, support your hands, and keep the pull more steady. You know this already, but if you're working on pottery, you need to check the thickness. You don't want to carve through the base of it when you're working. Okay, so as I'm getting taller with the pulls, you can see that unfortunately the bubbles are making themselves known, and that's not good. But I didn't want to start over. I mean, you know, every potter goes through this where they get a bubble here or there and they have to work and get the bubble out. So that's what I have to do. Just, you know, I can't fake it and pretend that it's easy when sometimes it is. You just fight all the way. Okay, you can see the big round rib that I'm using inside. When you have pieces that are like this one, where again their bubbles are making it wonky, you know, and me having Parkinson's doesn't help either, because if my hands were sturdy I'd be able to pull it much straighter, more even. I'm thankful for my ability to use my hands to the extent I can. At this point I'm just starting to clean up the outside. So when I get to the point where I can trim my foot, I'll have a better idea of what I want it to look like. I used the rib to trim away the extra clay, and now I'm just going under that extra clay and getting it wet. So then I'll just poke it and rip it and it's gone. You know, most all the wobbles out of it. It's not perfect, but I did chase a bunch of the bubbles out. It's been sitting overnight. And now at this point, you can see it got a little wobbly again. This is one of my favorite parts. I've done all the work to get to this point where I can start using underglazes. And after the underglazes, when they get a little drier, then I get to start carving or sgraffito work. So hang on. This is a really dark green. I think when I get it back though, even though it's really dark, I think it'll work well with the yellow green that I plan on using. There have been a lot of people that have asked about how do we get these pots off the bats. Well, we just use wire and pull it through very slowly. Then we flip it over. You can see the bats on top. The white piece that's against the wheel head is called a gasping grip, and it allows you to be a little bit simpler. You can see me putting these locks in there, these little rubber bumpers that kind of hold the pot in place so you can trim it. Well, that's what I'm doing here. Well, I put the underglaze on for me to be able to see imperfections in the pieces that I throw. Remember, Parkinson's a lot of times means there are a lot of tremors, and things don't always go the way you plan, so you have to have several different things, you know, kind of going on so you can make your best choice, and hopefully it all comes out. After using the underglaze, you can see I put stripes in there and things like that. So at this point I'm just using a barbecue skewer, and I'm starting to sketch vines because I know I want vines in this. When I just started looking at it, I thought this really does need vines. Starting there using a sgraffito tool, and it does a great job. So And don't worry about the vines overlapping. That's part of what you reach for because it's part of nature. One of the difficult things to understand is how long a project like this takes. When I finish this particular piece, between throwing it and straightening it and heating it, underglazing and striping, and then putting all the carvings in, I'll have almost 5 full hours into it. And that doesn't count the glaze time, it doesn't count the bisquing or the firing. You know, there's a lot of time that goes into it, but if you love it, then that's what you do. But I think it's worth it. If what you're doing makes you uncomfortable, you really need to change position. There's nothing like working when you're just all crunched up. Just be comfortable. And then there are tools. Oh my gosh, I love tools. Here I am again using a skewer just to doodle in the clay. I'm using an egg-shaped tool to actually help me make the leaves, the shamrocks that are going to be on the pot. I say over and over and over, you've got to be comfortable. Be comfortable. Be comfortable. There's just something about good tools. I'm telling you, they just make a difference for you. When you work with clay and you're around a lot of clay dust, you've got to make sure you wear a mask to protect your lungs. Lung disease is called silicosis, and it is not a joke. We're pretty close to being finished, actually. We're using the different colors, bringing out the different oranges and the yellows. So, you know, you can see that realistically, I want it to look old. I want it to look like an old Irish kind of a vessel. You can see that there's vining and there's clover leaves, and you know, you're just basically seeing what I hoped it would look like. I'm going to stress to you again the importance of wearing a mask. You can see that this is still a little damp. The clay is indeed damp, which is why I wasn't super worried about it. But later on, when it comes out of the kiln and I want to sand this down to get some additional highlights, then boy, that mask is essential. It is essential. You're protecting yourself. And just like that, we've taken a piece of clay and turned it into a vessel that'll be stained, so all those veins and leaves will show up a lot. Then it'll go for a clear glaze.